Hello, and welcome to Beyond Books, where we talk about books and always go beyond. I'm your host. I'm Renee. Tag Tuesday. Again. It seems like it happens at least once a week. But anyway, I am here to do an original tag, which is based around the names of Booktube channels. This tag was created by Aaron Read a Book. It is called the Booktuber Name Tag, and I was tagged by Pat at BookChatWithPat. So, first, before we get started with the prompts, there is a statement from Aaron, which says these are all great channels that you should all subscribe to immediately if you haven't already. I think that's a great suggestion. And there are probably several hundred other channel names that would work as prompts, but these are the ones I thought of. So here we go. What is the first prompt? It is called Books I'm Not Reading. I know that channel. And here we need to name a book that's been on our TBR list forever. Well, I have one that fits that bill. It is a very popular book. It is by Mr. King, we all know and love. It's 11/22/63. I don't know why, but I just have never gotten around to reading this book. I've checked it out at a library a couple of times, never got started with it, ended up always just bringing it back without reading it. I think I might have even had it on Audible or somehow downloaded on some listening service at some point. Never did listen to it. Bought this at the Goodwill, perfect condition. I don't think it's even been read. For $1. Still haven't read it. So here it is, my book that's been on my TBR forever and that I know I'm going to enjoy and I really do need to get to. So the next is Novel iDeea, a book with an interesting premise or plot device. Well, for that, sorry I had to choose Stephen King again. So I just read this book maybe a month or two ago, and yeah, it's just got that interesting kind of plot that you say, oh yeah, that's going to be a gem. That is Gerald's Game. This was written way back in the day. I don't know, I can't remember. I think I said it probably when I did like my monthly wrap up and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I thought, early 90s. This is from the early 90s, so that's what Stephen King looked like back then. And yeah, the plot premise for this is, there's a couple and they have been married for quite a number of years and they decide to play some bedroom games together. They've done it before, they've done it successfully. I guess you could call it successfully, but on this particular occasion, they are just not in the right frame of mind for that level of trust, and the lady ends up chained to the bed with no one else to help her, way out in the woods in a cabin by herself. I mean, that's a winner, you know. It's at least got sex. I don't know about drugs and rock and roll, but but yeah, it's good, and I think that plot idea just kind of makes you want to read it. Revenant Reads, a book where someone has returned from the dead. Well, this is a book that I haven't read yet either. So this is called The Ghost Photographer. I don't even know where I got it. I picked it up used along the way. I think it was either a yard sale or the good old Goodwill. And this book just looked intriguing to me. Never heard of it, never heard of anybody reading it. But it talks about a woman who has recently lost her mom, and she inadvertently photographs a ghost, and it kind of sets this whole scenario up where she kind of like just comes to terms with the death. And I think there's a little bit of humor and there's a little bit of sadness and grief. And yeah, it says, my story of grief and healing with guidance from the other side. The author is Julie Reiger. Have no idea if it's fiction or nonfiction. It says on the back that it's biography and autobiography. So, nonfiction. Fascinating. Next, number 4, we have CriminOlly. Everybody loves CriminOlly. A book where a crime takes place. I just finished, as you know, I talked about this the other day, Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. Yeah, a lot of crimes take place in this book. Starts out with a crime, basically. 2 men are murdered, 2 gay men, and their dads decide to avenge their murder. And for dudes in their 50s, their dads are pretty badass. So they cause trouble wherever they go and get into a lot of gun battles, knife fights, battles of skill, and trying to outwit their enemy. And it's quite the process for them to, finally get justice for their sons. So it's a very good book. Highly recommend. Book Time with Elvis, another great channel. So this would be a book about time travel, or someone named Elvis. Hey, I got you covered. It's not quite Elvis, but there is a character in this book, which is a very, very original story by Robert McCammon. I think he has Robert R. McCammon on this one, but I don't know if he always has the R on his books. I'm not sure. But anyway, this one is called Gone South. I read this a few years ago, but I'm going to read it again sometime soon because it just is a fascinating and original story. The character that I'm thinking of is actually named Pelvis Isley. He dresses like Elvis, he worships Elvis, he has pictures of Elvis in his house and all of that kind of stuff, and he has a dog named Mama. So, yeah, I think that's great. He was a character that I will probably never forget, along with several of the others that are in this book. If you haven't read Robert McCammon, really not even sure how to categorize him, all I can say is just pick up a book and go for it. This is a fun one, and Boy's Life is also a good one that I've read. I've got a couple of his others here that I haven't read, but I will. Next is Middle of the Book March. Yeah, Kim from Middle of the Book March. Your favorite book that you read in March. So my favorite book in March was Killers of the Flower Moon, The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI. This is by David Grann. It is a work of nonfiction. It's been made into a movie. A lot of people know the story, but yeah, very interesting. A lot of murders happening in the Osage community in Oklahoma, and many that end up involving the transfer of oil fields to other people. So yeah, interesting things happening there. And the FBI ends up having to go out there and investigate. Excellent story. He's an excellent writer. And not only that, but I am currently reading his other book, The Wager, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder, also by him. And I've barely scratched the surface of that, but very, very good. Let's see, Book Buds. That's number 7. A book with a great friendship. Well, for that, I chose The Women by Kristen Hanna. It's a very popular book right now. It was the book of the month that I chose for February. It was a really enjoyable read for me, and I love to read books about nurses in Vietnam, and that is exactly what this is. But towards the end of the story, she's back from the war. She is having a lot of problems just integrating back into American society, feeling very isolated. Women weren't always given all of the, I shouldn't say benefits, but there just weren't programs for women and recognition for women as soldiers, as warriors who, are returning from war, as veterans who have served their country just like men did. But so she's feeling pretty isolated, and her friends actually get back involved in her life. Her friends from Vietnam, who are also nurses, they all have each other's back. And it's kind of an important part of the story. And if you think it sounds maybe a little bit far-fetched, well, people are traveling from all over the United States to, help comfort this, one nurse who's having issues. No, that's true. That is what occurred sometimes after the Vietnam War. There's another great book. It's called Home Before Morning, and it is a true story of a nurse in Vietnam. It is nonfiction, and that is exactly what happens towards the end of the story. A lot of the nurses actually moved into the San Antonio area, and they kind of formulated their own support group. So that really came to mind when a friendship was mentioned. Obscure Book Adventures, a book that you love that never gets talked about. Well, I just mentioned books about Vietnam. I really don't hear of that many people reading them on Booktube. I don't know, maybe I just happen to miss something. But yeah, I have read quite a few things about Vietnam. People who did all sorts of jobs there, in the Air Force, in the Army, in the medical corps of the branches, in the Navy, doing these like John boat missions and things like that. Always fascinating, always interesting. There's a few that I would just highly recommend. I don't have a lot of them right here. This is one, We Were Soldiers Once and Young. I haven't even read this one. Lieutenant General Harold G. Moore and Joseph L. Galloway. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's become fascinating to me. I started out reading about the nurses, ended up reading about soldiers, and like I say, just all kinds of things. So I do like Vietnam era books. Okay, Savage Reads, a book with a monster or beast or human acting monstrously or beastly. Well, I can think of a few, but what I had handy, because I just read it last month, was Ahab's Return. And here it is. This is a book about Captain Ahab returning, because come to find out, he was not killed by Moby Dick. And so he comes back looking for his wife and son in this book. And it has some fantasy features to it. One is that there is a manticore, which is a Persian legendary creature similar to the Egyptian Sphinx that proliferated in Western Europe medieval art, and it has the head of a human. In this case, it's a female's face and head. It has the body of a lion and the tail of a scorpion, or a tail covered in venomous spines similar to porcupine quills. And so that's sort of what she has there. So that is a manticore, and the manticore was part of this story, Ahab Returns. A book that fits your own channel name, or the name of a channel that you love. Well, my channel is called Beyond Books, and so I like to sometimes do videos that go beyond just reviews and TBRs and monthly wrap-ups and things like that. I've done, a little bit of a pottery series. Every once in a while, I've taken you on a little day trip to some of the sites that are around here in the southeastern area of Virginia. And I've also shown you some of my gardening, things like that. And recently, as you know, I've had my episode with breast cancer, and it kind of made spring be not a whole lot of fun. I would much rather have done maybe a little bit of traveling. So for a book that reminds me of my channel, I'm going to pick This Road Trip Guide that, again, I think I bought for $1 at the Goodwill. And I'm telling you, pick an area, and I'm going. We're going to do some traveling this year. We're not going to let this whole episode hold us down and turn us around and turn our lives inside out. Everything should be pretty good from here on out with me as far as what I can tell. So, it's time to go and fulfill your dreams that you want to carry out. And I'm bringing the camera. So you're going to get to see, some different things. So, let's all look forward to it and make a wish, and hopefully that will occur. So, road trip USA, baby. All right, tag some other booktubers. Heck no, because every time I tag you guys, you say that you've already done it. So, no. If you haven't done it, I'm just kidding. If you haven't done it, then just pick it up and do it. It's a pretty good one. I think it's interesting. It was kind of a neat idea. So, take care, and thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment below. Take care. Have a great day.